Good afternoon. I'm Mary Beth Savatek, the founder of the Psychoenergetic Institute of Hypnotherapy and Life Coaching, and also the founder of the Energy Model of Therapeutic Change. Today, I want to talk about something that has kind of faded back into the woodwork uh, through centuries, and that was once a mainstream belief. It's about reincarnation, and this is something that over the past 2 or 3 decades has really made a comeback uh, to for people talking about this possibility. And the subject I want to cover today is how to help your child with past life memories and how to know if that's actually what they're experiencing. I personally did not believe in reincarnation. I've been exposed to the concept off and on since I was a child, and being a born again Christian, then that was kind of a hard concept for me to fathom or accept. And so I kind of just uh, dismissed it until around 2007 or 8, as I started doing more studies into holistic health and realizing that there's a lot of things that I came into this incarnation with, a lot of memories that a child of 2 and 3 and 4 years old fears and memories that I shouldn't have had. And it was only after between the years of say 2008 and 2011 where all these things started coming together, and they point to a specific time period. Now, if you were, and so that was kind of what started winning me over to say, maybe there's something to this. And looking back, I experienced a lot of trauma in childhood, and I had the best parents to handle anything, and a great home life. So the trauma that I was experiencing internally and the memories were not consistent with the life I was living. And so as I looked back and realized, like I said, over the years, things all of a sudden will pop up and it'll jar a memory, or it'll bring back that childhood memory or something. It'll go, oh, now it makes sense. Now I know where that plugs in. So I started from that experiencing becoming a believer, and as I started moving forward with the hypnotherapy, adding that on to my life coaching. At one point, I was a counselor and case manager, but got out of that system to work holistically and went into holistic life coaching and hypnotherapy. I started meeting more and more people who would come to me and say, can you do a past life regression? And as what I started finding is, as I would do past life regressions on people, they would have those aha moments where things would start making sense. And so the more I studied the concept of reincarnation, the more it appears, and of course, we never know, that our life, our actual life, is our soul. And the lives that we live is our soul in training to learn lessons and things. And so apparently, according to a lot of the theories out there on it, and at one point in time, this was a mainstream belief in a lot of religions, is that we've lived tens of thousands of lives, and uh, in each of them, we're learning lessons, we're balancing karma so that we can ultimately uh, go where we're going to a higher evolution. We evolve further, uh, transform further, and become closer to God for whatever job He has for us. So if you take that and put it next to Christianity, the question we have to ask ourselves is, when we get to heaven, where are we going? What are we going to be doing? Obviously, there's a plan for us, but we never really think that far. We just think, oh, we get to heaven in the end. So this is kind of some food for thought, but as we look at this, I want to talk about how to help your child who may have some past life trauma. And the first thing we have to ask is, how do we know that what my child is experiencing is past life and what is current? And the first thing is, know your child's environment and know what that child is being exposed to. If if you hand them a device to entertain them, anything can pop up on there for children. Anything they have access to way more than what you realize, even a 2 and 3 year old. So you want to make sure that that what they're experiencing, the trauma, is not something that they've seen on TV or on one of their devices. Which personally, uh, just a little tidbit here, is the brain doesn't fully develop to after age 18. And there's studies out there, of course, they're not mainstream because a lot of the holistic stuff doesn't get put into mainstream media and mainstream science, although there is bona fide, valid researchers, accredited, credentialed, everything you could ask doing the research. So apparently, the brains don't develop till after age 18. So for any time that they spend in front of tablets and things like that, it actually hinders their brain development. So we see kids that are grown up in 18, 19 years old, and we think, well, they might be on the spectrum, which that's a whole other thing. Won't go how that could have happened, but part of it is they're not learning the social and skills. They're getting information that they probably shouldn't be privy to. So the first thing, let's get back to identifying if this is an issue with your child, if these are past life memories, is knowing that what your child is exposed to. If your child is in daycare or goes to school, learn those environments, be an active participant in them, because sometimes they could be responding to drama that's now, and or trauma, and they're not being helped either. So the first thing is to decipher the what it is they're dealing with, where it's coming from. And then the second thing is, at what age are you hearing things? Kids at young ages can start telling stories, and some of them can be pretty sophisticated for their age. For example, in my own situation, as very small children, my sister and I used to pack our bags at night, and we would put our most important things, which was our Bible, our pinky stuffed animal, some underwear, a toothbrush, a toothpaste, and she would tell me we just need the minimum in case we have to run, in case the Nazis come. And years later, when we shared that with our parents, they said, we never talked about Nazis. Where were you getting that from? But we were very small children doing this. And so there's a whole lot of other stuff there. But I'm seeing this all the time where kids are saying things to parents and the parents are disregarding it or writing it off. And sometimes it's as simple as, hey, when I was the father, or hey, you used to be my sister, or something. Um, Providing that the theory of reincarnation is true, then that means we come into this life supposing to forget the other lives, but maybe having some fresh memories. So kids come in and they tell things that you're like, well, that's impossible. So we dismiss them. Sometimes they try to tell us about relationships with other people, or they share an event. It could be tragic. It could be, I died doing this. And so we need to really pay attention to what our kids are telling us to identify where this is coming from, and to not be so quick to dismiss it. Uh, so let's say that your child has some things that they're sharing with you that is that could be that could indicate a past life. Maybe some things, some stories that don't seem true, they're not accurate, and you don't know where it's coming from. What can you do about that? And the first thing is again, listen and document, and ask questions, but not leading questions. Ask them who, what, where, when, why. But don't say, oh, it was Uncle Dick, your brother in your other life. So you need to make very sure. You could say, well, who, how do you know him? So you said that he was your brother. So tell me about that. Who was your mom and dad? Ask questions. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, don't get them hypnotized. Now, this is coming from a hypnotherapist, and it's not really in a child's best interest to hypnotize them for past lives. A lot of them can tell on their own. They don't need that. Apparently, the memories of past lives start to dissipate between the ages of 5 and 7. There are some people who have those memories through their whole life or up further, or they have those memories that pop up as dreams later on. So, so don't get them hypnotized, but talk them through it. And if it's if they're sharing things with you that are traumatic, walk them back through it. Okay, let's go to that spot. There's been situations where I know of a mom that was going down the road and her daughter said, I died right there. And the mother was like, what? And I guess I was driving a car and it flipped. And they did some research, and a lot of things matched up to the story of a car that had flipped there like 20 years before. And so when that happens, instead of dismissing it, then stop and say, well, you know what? Let's take a moment and say goodbye to that person. That was you in another time, but that's not you now. So let's take a moment and say goodbye and honor that person. What happens is when people panic and oh no, and it doesn't fit our theology, and it doesn't fit this, and it doesn't fit that, then they're afraid they're going to lead their kids down the wrong path, and so they put a lid on it. But for the kid, it doesn't go away. That anxiety or whatever it is they're experiencing, the thing that seems like, hello, there's a big elephant. Am I the only one that sees this? No one else is listening to me. Those things don't go away. They might go undercover, but they will manifest in another way at another time. So even if you have to walk through the motions with them, whether or not that you believe it, just walk through. What would you do if somebody really had? What if it was a child that flipped a car that didn't die? How would you go back there and help them walk through those memories and come out victorious? And so that's a way that you can do that. So those are, I guess if I was to give 2 pointers, those would be the main things. Don't panic. Don't shut them down. Don't tell them that, oh, that's not true. Or in some cases, people accuse their kids of lying and making up stories. Well, he's a chronic liar. He's a storyteller. And those are the kids I want to go, I want to hear the stories. Tell me the stories, because that's where you're going to get a ton of information. So listen to their stories, walk them through. If it's not in your theology, walk them through it anyway, because chances are by the time they get down the road, they'll never remember that. If you can help them release it, and they'll be right back where you feel that you would like them to be on that theological level, of course, until they grow up and make their own decisions. But those are some tips. I hope it helps, and I hope that you are all just keeping yourself safe during this time, and making sure that you do the research, you decide what to believe. Don't let anyone else tell you. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.